All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Thanks for coming Tuesday, October 1st. Everybody please stand. We'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Please think of all of our first responders here in East Goshen, as well as those who are working very hard down south to help those unfortunate victims of that hurricane. Thanks so much. Please have a seat.
Sorry.
Okay, this meeting is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded at a later date to the township YouTube channel. Township is going to be closed on Monday, October 14th for Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples' Day. We did have an executive session prior to this meeting. Are there any comments?
Just, we had an executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot to say personnel. Okay, moving on to, we have no emergency service reports, no public hearings, no financial report, no minutes. So on to the treasurer's report. Dave, you want to take that over?
I'll just make the motion while he's looking.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and summarize the treasurer's report.
Thanks, Cody. Is there a second? Hey, Jesse, I thought those all, everybody seconded that. All right, so as far as the finances are concerned, did anybody have any questions? Dave, we're at the financial report. Thank you for taking care of that. Are there any questions that anybody had for Dave? I didn't have any questions myself. No questions?
Great work, Dave.
As always, we appreciate it. Do we need Dave to go through everything or not?
I'm good if you're good.
No. Peter? Yeah.
No, good.
Okay, all right. Any comments on, hello there. Are there any comments or questions on the bills? In the Zoom room, nobody is with us, okay? So see no questions and no questions on the board. Calling the question, who wants to pay the bills?
Aye.
Thank you. No,
Thanks, Madam Chair.
no problem. Thank you. All right, moving on to new business. Can we go right on to A then?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did put this on as an agenda item. Obviously, we've been discussing the budget quite a bit the last few meetings. This is one of the bigger pieces of the puzzle that remains as far as we need a decision on it. So we were hoping, Dave and I, to just have a conversation, the board to have a conversation among themselves in public and just see where we are on all the EMS companies, organizations, but obviously Goshen Fire is the big one as far as the share of EMS. So again, just looking for an open discussion on the board so that Dave can have better direction in the coming weeks as we try to wrap up the 2025 budget.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks, Derek. So I have Malvern Fire Company at 0%, no increase. That would be a contribution of $18,400.95, same as 2024. Good Fellowship, I have at 9%. It's total contribution of $44,084.31. The increase year over year would be $3,776.06. And individually, I got feedback from individual board members, and the Goshen Fire ask was 9%. So the requested increase was $42,923. If I average all of the responses from board members, currently supervisors, it would be an increase of $30,522.83, which is about 6.4%. So that's where we stand right now.
And again, we were just averaging the percentages that as Dave said, got individually and averaging that. There's no right or wrong way to go about this process. The board can do as they like as far as the contribution, but it seemed like the most logical thing to do, at least to get the conversation started.
Well, I appreciate all the work that you did, and thank you, everybody, for responding to Dave. As far as Malvern is concerned, they haven't come to us with anything. They haven't been here in,
Couple years.
I was gonna say, it's been
Yeah.
at least 2.5 years, I
Since I've
think.
been on the board.
And so at this point, I'm okay with funding them at their 2024 level. And as far as, I don't know if you want us to break it down and go individually with, so I would go with Good Fellowship. I'm okay with the ask. And with Goshen, you did average out all of the input
Correct.
to 6.4%, and I would be comfortable with that number if the board is comfortable, the rest of the board is comfortable with the averaging method that you chose. Then I think that everybody needs to speak their piece on that, but I'm satisfied with that effort of averaging. So I'd like to hear from other board members, what do you all think?
I'll go on the record here. I let Dave know the next morning. I'm Malvern, you don't ask, you don't get anything extra. And I'm good with the full percentage to both Good Fellowship and Goshen for what they requested.
Barbara, are you comfortable with using this method of averaging, or?
I'm comfortable with using this method.
Okay.
I would love to see, since the amount that is contributed to the fire company is a huge number, I would love to see some accountability in measures be got, phased in, perhaps an independent audit, just so that we have a little better sense of where the dollars are specifically being spent, since it's such a high number. I think I want to support them significantly and let them know our appreciation for the amazing work that is done. But I think we need a little bit of more information and accountability.
Thank you. And you're okay with the Malvern ask? Well,
I
you don't
think-
ask, you don't get.
I think you don't ask, you don't get.
And the Good Fellowship.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter?
I'm fine with the averaging and Good Fellowship.
John?
I'm fine with it too.
Do either one of you wanna make any comment, or if you'd like to, please come on up. We're happy to have you here. No, it's no problem.
You know what, Grant?
Hold on 1 second, the microphone might have had an issue, hold on.
No, that's, the issue was.
Yeah. We had technology issues right before the meeting. Typical, right? Thanks for coming.
So we appreciate the support. I understand there are hard numbers behind it. But we provide we get audited every year. We provide a copy of that audit. We also, I've always extended the opportunity for anybody to come in and look at our books. Look at every check we write. And look at where money comes from, where it goes. That's a standing off, it'll always be there. We extended our offer to Dave and Derek. Our apparatus fund is one of our largest reserve funds. And we have an algorithm for developing that and forecasting out 20, 25, 30 years to make sure that it's funded properly. And we, again, welcome the financial folks to East Ocean to grow down and satisfy themselves that we are saving quite a amount of money. You know, this is a business. This is very, you know, very important fire and rescue organization. We are no less professional, no less needed than the police department. I know the police department came in pretty late this year, but I went through their budget. You know, they got a pretty big bump a couple years ago, you know, like 18%, $200,000 bump. You know, I can see why with the changes in the service area, but when it's stabilized now. Our area hasn't changed, but calls are going up. You know, our expenses, our pure expenses aren't really growing that much. I think we're 4% over budget last year and 2% over our actual for this year. So our expense growth isn't extraordinary. What we're more concerned about is the flattening of our income from fundraising. As you all know, that's fair. EMS billings running, EMS subscriptions are running flat. We can't press on that any harder. So, you know, that's why those numbers are where they are.
Grant, one of the things that we did talk about briefly is with staffing and the need to hire because the volunteer pool is also dwindling and it's getting older. But the payroll component has gone up so exponentially and the overtime is so high. And I think that part of our concern is that that's driving a lot of the increase right now. And what are you doing to try to mitigate some of that?
So we're sort of in a vicious cycle with the overtime. We try to minimize the overtime by leaning heavily on a part-time staff. But with the explosion of the hiring of firefighter EMTs in Chester County, the availability of part-time staff, everybody's going from the same pool. So sometimes I just can't get part-timers to fill shifts, so we have to get the full-timers to do it. The solution for that is to hire more full-timers, but we don't have enough money to do that. You know, like East Ocean, or like we have transitioned to more of a full-time, you know, 5 per platoon, 4 platoons. We would love to be in that position. That's a hump we can't get over currently with our fund. So we have to continue to rely on the part-timers. I have ads out all the time to hire people. We just got a few people in. Last couple of weeks haven't been too bad, but last week wasn't great. But 2 weeks before that, it's a battle.
So staffing is one of the issues. And another issue is I'd asked you when you were here last time, if you go out for bid on your apparatus, and a fire truck's expensive.
Yes.
You're looking at, if you're not aware, it's like $1.45 billion in some cases. But if you're not going out to bid, how do you know that you're getting a good price? And you can build a truck. You can get a Spartan chassis and then build a Marion truck on top of it, or any of the other, what is it, rescue one and emergency one, or forget what they all are. But there are so many different trucks that are out there. Is that something that you would consider doing? Because that could save you $100,000 or $200,000 on a truck. That's a lot of money. And that's really the gap.
So we would consider it. I mean, the dealer we buy through is a CoStar's dealer. So we do buy a very good fire truck, but it is through a CoStar's dealer. So
CoStar's doesn't always mean cheaper,
understood.
in all
But
fairness.
We have some surrounding companies that are buying a certain tier of fire company because a municipality is buying that fire truck. And that fire truck is out of service. A new, within 5-year-old fire trucks out of service, much more than our trucks are. So we have to be very careful about the quality of the vehicle we're buying.
Okay.
Like I said, we're fine going to bid, but we get into a situation where you're buying less than a dependable truck. I know East Ocean buys very good public works vehicles, and works out there, Peterbilt's. They're very good vehicles.
They are.
I think it was for a reason, resale value and quality and uptime and all that. And that's the same philosophy we follow. But, you know, we can go to bed.
But we have to go to bid for all of those things too. We have to go to bid and we don't take the higher bidders. We are oftentimes going with the lowest bid. So it does save us money when we are able to do that. And, you know, to your point, I understand too, that if you go with a lesser quality, you're running a risk of being out of service, sooner. And, but the fact is that still, we're looking at tax dollars here and we're trying to be so mindful of making sure we don't have, that we're just minding those tax dollars because that's our responsibility. We're supposed to oversee it. So you're a private entity and all we can do is ask. And we understand that, but you know, the staffing is a problem and specifically the overtime. It's a big problem. It's driving a lot of your costs up. And of course, we know that you don't have control over all of that. We don't know what the situation is all the time. You do, you're there, but again, the bidding would be a big part for us. We'd like to see going out to bid and sometimes considering something that could cost a little bit less if possible, but those are two of the things that I know are of concern to me.
Sure.
So.
And I get that. I
Yeah.
understand your responsibility with taxpayers. I do want to give you an example though, because we've discussed many times, we are reducing the size of our fleet by selling the rescue truck, because we rarely use it anymore. It's a 2009, 15-year-old fire truck, and we are getting 50% of the job.
Great.
As a trade,
That's fantastic.
because of the quality of it.
That's fantastic.
So, and that money will go back into our reserve fund for future purchases. So, that's something positive.
We want to fund you all at the full amount when we can, and we're seeing a lot of, we're cutting back too. And so we're not trying to be difficult, we're trying very hard to find the money, so
Sure.
our budget still isn't done. So could that 6.4 move up? It potentially could if we find money from another place. So that isn't necessarily the end, it's just a matter of, this is a place at this point that where we are. Does anybody else on the board have anything to say or ask?
I'll come take a look at the fire, it takes a long time to tour it all.
I would too, and have a conversation where I could get a better understanding of some of the operations.
We welcome that, and not to compare, but you know, we worked with West Ocean's Fire and EMS Coalition for a couple of years now. And two of their supervisors has really done a lot to get them up and inform them. So when we go into a budget meeting, like we will in the next few weeks with them, they've heard it already. Not saying you'll get what we will get, but you know, we've had conversations throughout the year. So I think these kinds of things can only help us to better plan.
And then with the budget, with the bid process, if you let them know you're putting out the bid, you might be able to get a better price from the truck that you really want.
Mhm.
And even though it's a bid, you don't have to take the lowest bid, if
Yeah.
it doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
It just makes it more competitive. So if they be more competitive with that, you know, on their pricing.
It's likely if we are fortunate to get the LSA.
Yeah, that's it.
grant,
Yeah, that'd be
There's
great.
actually bidding requirements in that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. So,
Snakes them on their toes more that, you know, just, you know, they need to sharpen the pencil. I've done it many times and not put it out the bid, just let them know that there's plenty of other dealers out there that'll take our money. It gets them, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
And I actually, so when we just bought an ambulance, or we ordered two ambulances, and we ordered from one vendor initially, and within 4 weeks of signing papers, then they came back with basically a COVID price increase. We canceled that order.
Good.
Might be the runner-up, and hopefully their numbers, but. So we have the changes.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that you are be flexible when where you can. Anybody else, board probably have any more?
Yeah, Grant, I have not heard yet whether they've made a final decision yet on the LSA.
Okay.
I'll let you know as soon as
I know you-
I'm hoping.
Yeah, thank you,
All right, thanks for coming.
thank you.
We appreciate it, and we'll be in touch. Thanks.
Can I ask you one question?
Come on up.
Yeah.
Who's the stranger?
Yeah. Russ Frank, Brown, Scotian resident. When you mentioned the fact that some of these other municipalities have gone to lesser quality, has there ever been a cost analysis done on what that means to the township? Like, truck doesn't run, firehouse burnt it. Truck doesn't run, guy died of a heart attack that could have been prevented if the ambulance was running. That's my, you guys have a great service.
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but our house has had the emergency vehicles there several times
Mhm.
with overflow. Great service. No, we've never done a cost analysis or a service analysis. And I doubt that the other agencies have done that either. There have been instances where an ambulance has gone to a call and had a mechanical issue. Fortunately, you know, you just go get the other one swapped and give patients hospital. Can't say that doesn't happen, or, you know, you get a fire truck to a call and something doesn't work right. There's always another one to back us up. So, you know, we're fortunate here with our mutual aid partners and all that we can cover each other and prevent those kinds of catastrophes.
And Goshen has how many fire trucks altogether?
So fire vehicles, we now have one engine, 2 squads, which is an engine and a rescue combination. That's how we're replacing our rescue. And then we have the tower at Station 54 and a ladder that's also a pumper at Station 56. So it's a dual use vehicle.
So fire trucks, how many fire
And the
trucks?
brush.
So 4 or 3?
6, including the brush truck.
6 including the brush truck.
And we currently have 5 ambulances. Because of the age of them, we're waiting for 2 to be delivered. When the 2 are delivered, we'll probably go back to 4.
Okay.
We don't need it to 5. We just.
You have 5 because of mechanical
fingers
issues and
crossed,
whatnot.
Right.
Of course.
And then we have the traffic unit. And
Oh, right, yeah. I'm not thinking about those right off the top of my head. That's
the 6 fire trucks.
the 6 trucks. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Grant.
Madam Chair, I just have one more question just for
Sure,
Dave.
please, yeah.
Dave, what was the percent with the averages? What was that amount and what was requested? What was the difference? And
They requested 9% and we gave,
I'm sorry, like dollar wise.
oh,
basically $12,500.
yeah, 42,923 versus 3522.
It's sort of
35?
12,400. No, 30,500.
That's what I thought.
So it's basically 12,500. roughly.
Like I said, that's not necessarily our final number. It's just,
Appreciate it.
that's our working number right now. All right,
Thank you,
thanks so
Grant.
much.
Thanks, Brent.
Okay. Do we need anything else on that, Dave, for you right at the moment?
No, I'm good. And they were talking about selling one. We just sold a dump truck for 51,000.
Yes, I heard about that. That's wonderful. All right, moving on to Reservoir Road speed limit between Route 3 and Strasburg Road.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess at the last couple of meetings, because of the new trail that is adjacent to Reservoir Road, there's been some interest at the board level to lower the speed limit there. Speed limit currently is 35 miles per hour. There's talk of doing it to 25 miles per hour, which is the lowest it could be legally outside of school zone. So I did some recon. I guess there's 3 parts to this. One, the ordinance change is fairly simple, and Mark knows that. I mean, as far as the language, that it's really just a schedule of speed limits in our ordinance, and we would just cross out one number and put in another. So there's not a lot of legwork to do as far as an ordinance change. I got feedback from 2 sources: the WeGo, Ted Lewis, who handles a lot of traffic, and then our engineer, Panoni, Michael Schneider, who is a traffic engineer there. So Ted Lewis was pretty short and sweet. He thinks it's a good idea. Particularly with the trail there, it's not gonna have bollards or anything like that going along the length, so
Mhm.
anything to slow people down is fine by him. So that was the feedback from the police department. Engineer was slightly more nuanced, so there isn't, you don't specifically have to go through PennDOT or anything like that automatically. Technically, when you're changing a speed limit, you're supposed to be within 5 miles per hour of the 85th percentile when doing a study on that street. And you have to do a study in order to change the speed limit, unless you qualify for a certain residential district, then it could be waived, which he thinks that would actually qualify. So he has to go through that a little bit. But all we would then have to abide by is the PennDOT maximum speed limit per code for the entire Commonwealth. So I guess the bottom line is, we can do it. Benoni doesn't think we need a study for it per se, given the circumstances here, but they will need to verify that and then put it in a letter form that this meets the criteria to not have to do a study for the speed limit change. And then once we get that letter, we can then have Mark change the language in the ordinance and then bring that to a board meeting, which at this point, if Pinoni has to do that background, I would hope the November meeting we can do it. So,
How much trouble is it to do a study for the speed?
it's not a whole lot of trouble. I mean, we get Pinoni's third party out there to,
Is it expensive?
the last one we did at Highland was under $1,000. I don't know if it's a comparable number. I mean, I can't imagine it being that much more.
I'd like to see that done. Just for myself, I'd like to see that done before we start changing things.
I would agree with that, that's fine.
Okay.
I think we should ask Cody, who's walking over there every single day, how many times have you almost run hit?
I'm fine if you guys want to do a study, but I recommend going down and standing at the edge there from 7 to 8 p.m., 7 to 8 a.m. and
Could you hold the study thing up?
yeah,
when we do that?
yeah, absolutely for you. We'll rotate each hour, John.
Hey Derek, would WeGo be able to do the traffic study or no?
I think because
They
it's,
have that.
I think it's because of a speed limit change that's tied into it, has to be done by an engineer.
Okay.
Usually it doesn't have to be if we're doing it.
Yeah, I was just curious because we had put the $1,295
Yeah.
covert speed thing.
Although then we would have to wait until next year to do it,
Yeah.
so.
Gotcha.
Can we use, the, bond fund money to make sure that that gets paid for? For the part of the damn money,
I don't know.
because I
Probably.
would think because we would want to lower
I-
it because of the,
Well, I would think it would be
Trail we put
tied
there.
into the Milltown Dam
Mhm,
rehab.
mhm.
I'd probably say I'm 90% sure we could,
Okay,
Definitely.
because they did the.
that's right, it's
the-
$1,000. All right, that's
All right,
good.
well, that's fine, then I will start on that and I'll bring this back to the board when the study is complete.
Barbara, are you okay with that? Peter?
Yep.
Okay,
What do you think?
Think that all right. Derek, energy procurement recommendation and possible approval.
You want to take this, Steve, or?
I can make the motions.
So, well, I'll get this started. So we usually get locked into contracts here for a supply of electric and gas for the township building and other facilities we own. We do that because a contract is often less volatile, and you get a better price than going month to month. So our current contracts are up at the end of the year. The last contract we went through COG and a third-party broker who has disappeared off the face of the earth because I couldn't find them. Their number was disconnected. I have no idea what happened. So we were able to get another recommendation of a vendor that does this. They work with PSATs, CoStars. So a couple of other townships have used them and provided us what we think is the best pricing we're going to get. And we have I think one of them is a 12-month for gas, is that?
Yeah, that's the 12-month for gas. So World Connect is a premier partner for PSATs. Well recommended. They negotiate tons of contracts for people, Pennsylvania wide for municipalities. I spoke with Cheryl Heft, who's our senior manager of World Connect for Eastern PA. Extremely knowledgeable. She was flying out of Florida when she was actually in the airport when I spoke with her, trying to escape the hurricane and come back. And she was at an energy conference. Extremely knowledgeable, plentiful with her time. If we wanted to call her right now tonight, we could. And she also looks proactively for budget opportunities. If things drop, she'll try and renegotiate a contract, which is one of the reasons why Constellation, even though they don't look like the cheapest when you look at the graph of the data table, is one of the reasons why, is because they're one of the biggest players. They're able to eat more of the cost than some of the smaller ones. And people who don't know, energy supply incorporates, so there's the actual energy and then there's the energy supply costs, and those include 12 to 15 different types of costs in it. So there's capacity and transmission and a whole bunch of other things. Constellation is one of the few that does not pass on the transmission cost. So they fix that as well. It's not, and so the only thing that's really passed through that's not fixed, when you compare fixed versus pass through, is the capacity. And the drawback to locking it at 100% of a fix, and you'll see why it's more expensive, is because they want to fix your capacity. So we could actually use less, but we already have a higher fixed capacity cost because they want to make sure that just in case we went above it, that they're covered. So they hedge their bets. She really recommended the 18-month window to be able to see what is going to happen. And it also gets us into a June time period for the end of contract. And that is much more favorable as far as April, May, when the highest or when the lowest prices are around. And when you get into these winter months, like it goes up. I got prices from them last Thursday. Within just on Monday, we were already at 1 cent higher per kilowatt hour. So she was able to negotiate us back to a lot closer. But so right now, the current one, Derek, I think he gave you another handout that had the actual current cost.
Yes.
So we were looking at 0.05909. It went up to 0.06189, almost 0.062 within days. So you can see how quickly this changes. So that's why we're requesting this approval. I would send it over to her before midnight tonight to lock it in at 0.061, which is higher than this, but she negotiated down from basically 1 mil down from what Constellation came back with. They're proactively budgeting, so they will every couple weeks, she actually does the numbers again and reaches out to people to see what the direction is, which is appreciated by staff because I don't have time to deal with energy on a daily basis. And somebody who's that knowledgeable would be a good person in our corner. Seems to have a really good handle on all of this. The WGL Energy Services for Gas is really a no-brainer. So we would lock in at a cheaper savings already. And we would only do 12 months because we know we're saving more than what we're paying right now through PICO. And it gives us the flexibility to renegotiate with it 12 months. And if it goes down, we go somewhere else. If it doesn't, we could try and extend the contract. She's had a lot of success extending contracts as well before they're up, to say, we need another 6 months. What's that going to cost? And those kind of things. So a lot of good information from her. I'm happy to answer any questions that I'm able to. It's a pretty involved calculations and subjects. But one of the things to notice that I put in the memo is that Constellation, even though it does look like it's more expensive, since they lock in the capacity typically increases between 5 to 7 or 8% every year. So that could be an increase that we would see that would push us up immediately into some of these other ones that are on the table. And they are also not nearly as flexible. So that was why our recommendation will be for conservation for the electricity and for WGL Energy for Gas.
Thanks, Dave. Madam Chair, I make a motion. We authorize the township manager to sign the following contracts for the purposes of energy procurement for gas and electric service. 12-month fixed rate of $4.29 cents per thousand cubic feet with WGL Energy Services and an 18-month fixed rate price of 0.6246 per kilowatt hour with Constellation.
Can you repeat that, please?
The Constellation price is actually 0.061 per kilowatt hour.
Friendly amendment.
Brendan, thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Peter. All right, I don't have any questions, that we covered that very completely, and the, information provided was great, so. Do you have any questions?
Dave, this is really down in the weeds and it's good work. Let's go up to the 40,000 foot level. What are we spending a year on, gas, and what are we spending a year on electric?
It's a fraction on gas. Electric is between 100 and 200,000. Gas is thousands.
Okay, wait, so electric is between 100 and 200.
200, yeah. I mean, we 2 million kilowatt hours.
Wow.
Keep in mind, we have a heat pump system here, it's geothermal.
The biggest one, and this is kind of splitting between, so you guys are looking at all the budget stuff, so the majority of this would be a charge to the sewer plant, because Town Drive is what uses the majority.
It's not just this
Vast
complex.
majority.
Okay.
It's
That
like
gives-
75%
That gives
just
me a
that.
ballpark idea,
Yeah.
are these increases in the budget? Next year's
No.
budget?
No. Not the preliminary budget that you've already seen.
Yes, they'll have to go in then?
Yes,
Okay,
and I'll give you a rundown of some of the other fun tidbits of budget changes that
oh,
will be in the
joy,
October, will be in the October 15th, roll.
okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board have any questions for Dave?
Thanks,
Are
Dave.
there any questions here in the room? Come on up. Are there any questions on our Zoom platform?
Who is this? Starting to get warmed up for the next round of touches.
Oh, good, good, okay.
Um,
Hey, Russ, thanks for coming tonight.
Hey, Dave, these are mostly for you. See, we have 22 different meters. Do we get billed as an individual meter or a group?
Individual meters.
Is it better to go to group methodology, considering that, I think you said you use 100,000 units a month?
We use over 2 million kilowatt hours per month, and it's between Town Drive, we've got all the
Right.
pump stations, all the different buildings.
But would it be more beneficial if one to a group plan? Because I think that may make you a larger customer for bigger discounts.
I don't know that that's available to us.
Yeah, I think you have to ask the question. They don't offer it, you have to ask them. That's what we did where I work.
So you're talking about groups as in other townships, as in purchasing power?
They said you're billed individually on these 22 meters. So I said,
Yeah,
is it a group?
well, I think it's 16 meters. That's
Okay, but my thing is, are we using 100,000 kilowatt hours a month?
No, it's over, it's between 2 million and 2.5 million every year annually.
Oh.
And it depends, when you get billed, it depends for the supply cost. So the electric is the electric,
Yeah.
but the supply cost part of it, we have different peaks for different places. So I don't know if bundling it would necessarily do the savings, but I'm not sure.
But Pico has a plan. They have plans that they don't broadcast. One of those plans is you're a certain amount of usage, you're considered a large customer base, which gives you a different billing rate than your normal rate.
Okay, so that would be not the supply cost, that's the actual electric cost.
Right, which is still, you're still paying Pico a lot of electric costs.
Oh, yeah.
And that does pass through, that lower cost will pass through to that bill as well. That's all I'm asking is something to explore.
Sure.
Good idea. You guys noticed back in late last year that Pico's accounting system has changed drastically and causes a lot of problems to your company?
Yes, indeed. It's a nightmare.
It is. I'm still going through it.
We're still not 100% there. They changed all of our account numbers. We had to talk to them, talk to rep, got pushed up to supervisor, got pushed up to somebody regional to make sure that, first of all, that our bills were correct. Second, that the account numbers matched the right meters. And third, that we weren't going to get charged any late fees because we weren't getting bills for a number of months.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been going through for the past,
We are the same boat, yeah,
yeah.
Wow.
and they didn't notify anybody.
No, that's what I'm saying. I've been after them I call them every month to find out what the heck's going on. And I have to call at 7 o'clock in the morning because they're too busy.
Yeah, you gotta get in early.
Yeah. And that could be a big. And you have to reconcile that account?
Yeah.
That's a problem. When you see what they send. To reconcile your numbers to their numbers, it's horrendous.
Well, we've got an ongoing spreadsheet we do monthly where we reconcile it.
With Pico?
Yes,
Okay.
so we're caught up.
On the vendors that you're using for the electric and the gas, how do you vet them?
Well, it's typically through a bidding process, through a consultant.
Consultant?
Yeah, and they would recommend, like when it was COG, they had somebody that recommended based on price and also, with their familiarity, kind of like an engineer would, if they recommended a vendor to do a contracting work. So do they deliver what they're supposed to? Do they know what they're talking about? They have a good track record, customer reviews, that kind of thing.
Now, did they also mention to you that there's sometimes delays in the outsource company that you're using to what Pico has in their billing process?
I'm aware that could happen, but we're able to do
Okay.
it.
All right, so I have.
Thanks, Rob.
Good question, Jeff.
Thanks, Russ. All right, are there any questions in the Zoom platform? Seeing none. There's a motion on the table to switch, so. In light of the information that Russ provided. I don't know what to do with,
For what?
just, well, he's saying. Well, I guess. you
So I
can-
think what he had said,
It's separate.
what, yeah,
It's a separate
The
issue, right?
Bundling is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he's talking about. I'll
It's
have to
different.
investigate that, but that's with Pico about their energy
Okay.
cost.
Okay,
The difference is the supply cost is the supply.
okay, perfect. All right, so there's a motion on the table to switch to. Is it Constellation? What's like the name of it? World
There's-
Connect Energy
no,
Services.
there's two different companies based on gas and electric.
Track
Cody already made the
Constellation,
Cody made the motion.
but Cody made the motion. All right,
The WGL does the gas
thank you.
and Constellation does the electric.
Okay, got it. Thanks. There's a motion on the table. Those in favor of switching? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to Veterans Day event discussion.
Thank you,
Chair,
Madam
take it
Chair.
away.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. So, Jason had written up the memo. We had talked, briefly a couple weeks ago. Township Parks and Recreation interested, obviously, in doing the Veterans Day event as laid out in the memo. Pretty low key and internal in scope is kind of what we're shooting for, just so it can be, not too overwhelming and we can handle the event. Make adjustments as needed. The program is also laid out there. Playing in the national anthem, opening remarks, remarks by the township, presentation of plaques, and then closing remarks by the board. The main expense would be these plaques that we would potentially get specifically for veterans. I don't know how Jason I don't know exactly how he's working that out as far as who exactly is getting the plaques. I have to talk to him a little bit more about that. But this is,
I think it's based on the number of people, speakers and stuff that he would have to share their experience.
okay, I for some reason I thought he was going by some other criteria, but that's fine. I might have been mistaken. But so anyway, there is a motion on the table to approve the event with the financial limits. And also though, if the board has anything they want to add, subtract, whatever to this event, now would be the time so that we can get going on it and Parks and Rec can kind of vet that. Thank you.
I would like to add two things. And a tip of the hat to Barbara. This event should have a rain date. We didn't have that for Memorial Day. And secondly, if we have more than 5 people and it's $25, we've already hit our limit. Maybe the limit should be a little bit higher.
Okay. I think for the rain date thing, I think what we were thinking is it's gonna be more of a small event that we can move it on that day. Or I think it's actually in, because it's supposed to be near the pavilion, so it's gonna be covered. But if it got really, really torrential downpour or something, I thought it was possible to move it, but we can, I mean, we could have a rain date if you prefer that, the board prefers that.
I think you
We
should
could-
put that
we could
in.
have-
It
we could
doesn't
have
have to be
here.
part of the motion, but,
Okay,
Right, I think
I
you
think
should
it
have
should
a
be
plan
prepared for
ahead of time
yes.
for inclement weather.
A rain plan. Maybe move it up to the township building like Peter said.
Yep.
You moved the
Yep.
township building.
yeah, we could do a number
I
of
mean,
things.
isn't this parking spot though is
It's at-
gonna be at
it's
the
in the
park,
park.
so wouldn't we wanna do it at the park?
Well, that's the goal. I
Yeah.
guess we're talking about if it's just inclement weather and we had to, yeah, worst case scenario.
Madam Chair, I move that we move forward with this Veterans Day event on November 9th, 2024, and up to what up to 250 sound okay, 200?
Mhm.
Let's do, and up to $250 towards township resident plaques, as well as including a rain date and the other things mentioned by my fellow board members.
Second that motion.
There you go, John.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, so a rain plan and $250 max for plaques. Anybody on the board have any other input or questions? And maybe we can just have Jason or you roll it out to us and let us know what it's gonna look like
Oh, yeah.
at a
thanks,
later
Steve.
point, Derek. Okay, are there any questions here in the room
Thank you.
or in the Zoom room? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. All right. So moving on to our standing issues.
You got an idea?
So we've got the Milltown Dam project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have not much to add to that. I probably should take that off the standing issues at this point. Although I do have an update for Bow Tree. We finally were able to, on the pond, finally able to empty the sediment bags and spread out that sediment and get that stabilized to a certain extent. I still think they're working on it a little bit this week because of the bad weather last week. They were hoping to complete it last week, but it is the Bow Tree Pond project, as far as the restoration efforts, is close to being done.
Great.
And then I do have on here a standing issue, the 2025 budget, as I said, we were going to do for the remainder of the year. So if anybody has any 2025 budget issues minus what we talked about tonight, can certainly bring those up.
I don't have any issues.
One thing I'll add to what Derek said about Bow Tree. So once it's all complete, I will put in a reimbursement for the LSA grant of $176,000 that we were awarded in 2023.
Awesome, thank you.
Just very quickly about the Bow Tree Pond, I had a resident whose dog I will be watching. They and a couple of their neighbors were asking if the things in those massive bags were tested and if we tested the soil for chemical issues. And I asked Mark about it. He says we've never done it before and we've never had any problem with that. So just in case someone asks, another Bow Tree resident asks you, because apparently it was the talk of their street, but we've never had a problem with that with the other ponds we've done. So just letting you know that everything's great.
And it's also the silt that was already in the pond.
Yeah.
So it would have already.
They were just thinking maybe the bags.
Oh, the bags themselves
Yeah.
cause contamination.
I had asked a couple times too, so.
I could ask the question.
Anybody else have any budgetary issues or anything about Bow Tree Pond?
All the silt would come from the neighborhood
Right,
and runoff would be from the neighborhood, even from them.
right.
All I did was ask the question.
I know.
Yay. Under any other matter, I have one other matter. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but along Boot Road, it's very, very nicely lit right now. The LED lights that Mark's team replaced look fantastic. There are no dark areas. It's a lot safer. So I appreciate the fact that Mark and his team are always looking for ways to improve safety for the township residents. They're looking at 352 and some places along right off of Westchester Pike as well.
Good.
So they'll be changing some light bulbs. So
I did want to bring up one budgetary thing that Mark and Lynn have been looking at trying to get the sustainability questions we were looking at. ESAC wanted to know some of the things that we were looking at doing that would be more sustainable friendly. So one of the things we looked at is I had Kevin Rothwell come by, and we have a ton of filing cabinets full of paper that we wanted to get scanned in. But to do so would mean a scanner upstairs on the second floor, because he scans our folders. It's all digitalized. It would also function as a copier. He thought it would be about $5,000 or $100 a month, or $100 a month for 5-year lease. I just got the quote back from him tonight before the meeting. It would be about $4,100 to buy, or $84 a month.
And
I
would
didn't
would
know
they
if
do
the
the
board-
scanning?
I didn't know if the board was interested in it. It's an effort to go paperless, but also to get everything organized for all of the public works project folders, traffic lights, street projects, things like that. So I didn't know if that's something the board would entertain me putting in to the capital budget for 2025.
To be clear, the scanner, would that be a purchase for
You can do a
$4,100?
purchase or a lease.
So purchase,
Obviously, you'd save $1,000 if you purchased it over the 5-year period,
right,
and the technology's not gonna change vastly. It would be my recommendation to buy it for $4,000 and then just use it for the next 15 years.
Do we have the staff to be able to scan everything?
It would primarily be Lynn's job, and it would be located in her office or right outside it. And that would be doing all the Mark's stuff, all of her stuff that's already backlogged from taking things out of the archives. and
Yeah,
everything
let's
like
get
that.
rid of it. I can't imagine how bad that basement is and everything else is.
oh, you haven't been down
No,
there?
I
It's scary,
I'd say it away.
a little scary.
You're breathing.
Fire hazard.
salt after.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I think that's a good idea. Can you find $4,100 to squeeze out of the budget
Yeah,
for that
yeah,
somewhere?
yeah, I just got notice from like State Liquid Fuels, it's $12,000 less than I put in for this year for 25, because it's less than what we got in 24. And then, let's see, our workers' compensation came back, that's $10,000 higher than my estimate. So we've got some moving parts, but yeah, I actually found all the files on the impact fees for the transportation fund. So that's gonna be fun reading. So I'll do that, and then also the sustainability via infrastructure fund, since the board is okay with paying some trees because of it's open space, which is in our infrastructure that isn't funded. We could definitely offset some things. It'll get back to a net zero. Plus, we have to do the salary reviews and the payroll and
Update the police budget.
find that too.
We can always get it out of staff salary, right?
We'll start the supervisors. Really quick, Dave,
Yes.
because you know how much I love to prolong meetings. I haven't gone downstairs yet, but I don't know what a quote would be, maybe in not next year's budget, the following year, that we can just clean up that basement, put some kind of a scanning company that scans it, or for us to clean everything up.
So
Eric actually did bring somebody.
yeah,
in.
we did bring it, we did get a quote at the end of last year for the same company that digitized the entire county archives over at Chester County, so they know what they're doing. They went through everything in the basement, and I think the quote we got was $50,000. So it is an option, but it's an expensive option. But there's a lot of stuff down there. Not all of it. I know Dave said we're going to try to get a lot of public work stuff. Not all of it is related to what Lynn is going to do. A lot of it is codes, property records per parcel. I mean, if you go down there, there's literally folders per parcel.
And it's
for
the
everywhere.
size of.
Yeah.
You really need a special.
Yeah, so it's an option, but it's.
So is it worth just waiting to see how much Lynn can get clear up and then see if they can requote us, and maybe it's not 50,000, maybe it's 45?
Totally different,
Oh my.
Yeah.
totally separate.
We could rent the basement out for Halloween and probably make a lot of money.
It's pretty scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
Good idea,
Okay,
John.
Me neither.
Peter, do you have anything under any other
Yeah,
matter?
who keeps hitting the guardrail? What's the problem?
Oh,
UPS.
UPS has been found out.
Yeah.
Every single time.
So we,
Making a left?
so we,
I mean.
Making a right.
you're right.
yeah, so we actually got, part of before you were on the board, what we did was we got,
Cameras,
we
yeah.
set it up, it got hit and destroyed, we insured it, we put the cameras in, and now we backtracked, basically, found the driver, got them there.
Mhm.
UPS complained that, well, he checked out at this time and that doesn't match up. Well, we got him there, and then the camera guy also has another camera and got him over at another spot. So we have the time trail. We'll get it back.
All right. Sounds good.
Yep. Anybody else, any other matters?
I'm waiting for the boss to give me a okay.
Okay, well, seeing
Don't give me
none,
the look.
liaison reports, I don't have anything to report right now.
Looks like Barbara does.
Oh, I forgot public, go ahead. I'll do public comment next.
I would just say that, our West Town has following in line with our pipeline and have got their township did CO2 ordinance. So we're trendsetters,
I think did West Whiteland did it.
or West White,
West
West
Whiteland,
Whiteland
yeah.
Township, West
Excellent.
Whiteland. So that was,
Nice.
that was good. There's, the pipeline committee is paying close attention to the explosion and what that might indicate in terms of other potential resolutions for us in East Goshen, because the units that were hit in did not have adequate protection, and we only have fencing on the intersection where the Sunoco and Haley Pike. So do we need to look at what protection is there so that we don't have a similar incident? Anywhere, there are two places that are fairly vulnerable that have fencing and a fair amount of a good space with fencing, but nothing substantial more than a fence. So a truck gone awry or something could cause damage. So they're looking into it. They're very thorough. And ESOC has been asked to perhaps partner with the elementary school at looking at natural gardens and doing some education with the elementary school. So that,
Which
They're
elementary
active in-
school?
I think the one that,
The one that has the traffic jam in front of it every single day?
The one.
Our parking lot's marked, so.
Mm.
Excellent. Okay, good to know.
so anyway,
All
just
right.
if it,
Okay, great. I forgot to ask about public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? Russ, do you have anything? And on our Zoom platform, any public comment? Seeing none,
Motion to adjourn.
seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for coming.